Hello and welcome to the new episode 34 of the Joe Dez Hour. Right across from me is Tessa Kresch. Tessa, how are you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You might have noticed behind us an entirely new scenery, new environment for the Joe Dez Hour. Today, we are starting the first of our 10 different locations, 10 different episode series as we start our journey to episode 50. It might not be consecutive, different sets every single time, but it's going to be different sets by episode 50. Be ready for that. Today is also a special Valentine's Day episode. Right now, I'm rocking the pink. You're rocking the pink, Tessa. It's going to be a great episode. Special features throughout this. Because of it being a special episode, we're going to have 3 segments today. First, we're going to dive into your personal history, a little bit of journalism as well. Next, we're going to do acting. And then finally, we're going to finish with your singing career.
Okay, fantastic.
Sound all good to you?
Sounds excellent.
Round 1. Okay, I did the video. You gotta stop sending my dad that picture of the gorilla and Kevin James at TGI Fridays from Zookeeper and following it up with a text that just says us.
I'm not stopping doing that, Amelia.
First off, as I said, we're starting off personal. When you were in high school, you moved to Puerto Rico for a good amount of time. While you were there, the area was hit by Hurricane Irma. Can you talk about that experience a little bit for the audience?
Yeah, so when I moved to Puerto Rico in 2017, we were not only hit by Hurricane Irma, which was expected to be a Category 5 hurricane. About 1 week later, we were hit with Hurricane Maria, which was absolutely awful. I think that in the grand scheme of things, I feel really grateful for that experience. I mean, the way that the community came together after being hit with such a catastrophic event was just so beautiful, and I think that made me a better person as well. It was very educational and community building for me.
Yeah, not everyone lives through a natural disaster, especially not one the size of Hurricane Irma. When you saw all that destruction, did it kind of give you a whole new outlook on life, or how was that with the mindset?
Yeah, I was lucky that nothing of mine was damaged, but so many of my friends had so much catastrophic damage in their apartments and in their places, but there was also such bad, the internet was gone and the power was gone, and things you don't think of, like old people who live on the 24th floor of their building, they can't get up or down, and they can't access resources. So just being in the midst of all that it made me feel like I want to help people more, and I'm grateful for the experience, but it was sad.
Yeah, so at the beginning of that experience, when you moved to Puerto Rico, you were leaving the U.S. Was there any pushback against your parents, or were you just willing to leave?
Oh, my parents are the ones who are the reason I moved to Puerto Rico. My dad was a little bored of Michigan, wanted a little adventure, and so he asked me if I wanted to move there. At first I was like, I don't know, I have friends here. And then he gave me the opportunity to tour the school that I would go to. And that's where I met such amazing people who were so welcoming of me, and I just had such a great visit there. I was like, absolutely, we're moving here. And then I moved there a few months later, started 10th grade. I was living in an apartment near the beach. It was a dream.
Was there anything specific that really drew you in when you visited the school?
It was so different from here. The cafeteria was outside, which is something I only thought existed in movies. That didn't occur to me. And I mean, the weather was amazing. I loved that. And just the party culture as well. In Michigan, I feel to have fun, you're probably in someone's basement. And they're it's fun. And even the parents are involved. Everyone's just so friendly. I had fun.
When you were there, I know you talked about the movies a second ago. Plenty of movies come from either South America, Spain, all of those areas. One problem I see in a lot of the dubs don't line up with the mouths when they're moving. Was that how it was in person too? When people talk, didn't line up with their mouths?
This is checkmate.
Interesting. Nothing I ever noticed.
I assume that wasn't real. Yeah. No, that's cool though, Tessa. I wasn't sure if it was something where you pushed back against your parents, you were kind of forced to go there, then Hurricane Irma happened. I imagine if you didn't want to go, things would seem like they were all adding up the wrong way. So I wanted to see what the actual perspective was from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the moment I was obviously what is happening? What did you bring me into? But just looking back, I'm so grateful for the experience.
Do you think you matured a lot during that time?
Totally. I mean, everything I mentioned, this is way more experience than anybody could learn in a classroom too.
This one I have to look at just because of pronunciation. There's no way I'm getting this without the pronunciation guide on here. You once came in first place in a poetry out loud competition a couple of years ago, and you read a poem that was called, tell me if I get this wrong, there's a big chance I do. It was called Zacuan Papaletes.
Very close, Zacuan Papalotas.
Okay, nowhere near.
Zacuan Papalotas. That wasn't what I won, I did perform that poem in a competition, and then our national competition in Puerto Rico was scheduled on March 13th. And so it was canceled the day before. And that's like obviously when COVID happened. It was a stressful time. So they changed the competition around to be called Poetry Ourselves. And this was a poetry competition where you wrote poetry, and I wrote something called I Wonder What Will Happen Tomorrow. And it was kind of just a look on COVID and where it was at the time. It was just me wondering, like, what will happen tomorrow? So that's what I won. I won first place nationally for Poetry Ourselves.
Yeah, you've always been someone who seems like they're just doing their own thing, very independent. One of the independent things that you did was creating your own podcast.
Yeah.
And Mortem Corp is not just a regular podcast, it's a drama-based podcast where you have actors, you have casting, it's a whole story. There's sound effects. How did you come up with the idea?
I have always wanted to do an audio drama. I mean, ever since I listened to, I don't know which ones were my first, but their Gimlet Media had a bunch come out, and I was just so interested in it. And I was like, I want to voice act and stuff like this. And I wanted like people I knew to voice act in it, and I was just so into the idea. And then I fell into sound design, theater sound design, and then I wanted to integrate all the things I do all together. So I got some script writers to write me some scripts. They all wrote under these scripts. It's like an anthology series. Each script belongs separately, but they all are in the same world, and that's Mortem Corp. And so I had them write these scripts, I casted them, I recorded them at Impact, and then I sound designed them, and that takes a long time. It was really fun.
Yeah, you mentioned you casted them. Were there any unique experience during the casting process?
I mean, I'm fortunate enough to know so many actors, so it wasn't hard. So many of my friends are more than willing to work and like give me their time. It's so nice. I love like the theater community. Everyone's willing to help each other.
So did most of the actors end up being people that you had known prior?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
hell yeah, well, that works out. Don't have to go grab strangers, it's pretty good.
Exactly, and it's always fun listening to their auditions that I make them do.
Yeah, you get to see your friend in a new light. So
Yeah.
now that leads us into our second part.
Okay.
Acting. Ready it up, Dezette.
Round 2. Okay, did you get the video?
Yeah, I got the video.
Okay, can you stop going to spin class with my mom now? Like every week?
It keeps me in really good shape. I'm not gonna stop doing that.
Anymore.
And we're back. I'm not going to stop doing any of the things they asked me to stop doing. That stuff is staying. Be ready for that. But Tessa wanted to they'll understand. The audience will understand.
Okay.
But you started acting when you were 7 years old. You
Yes.
played a spoon in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yes,
Yes.
I did.
Can you take the audience through a little bit of a timeline, a journey of how you got here?
I started acting, like you said, when I was 7. I was in Beauty and the Beast at a community theater in Farmington Hills, Michigan, and that's when I like fell in love with it. I mean, the rehearsal process, the people I was surrounding myself with, and then I got my first lead. It was in an off-brand Rapunzel. It was called Rapunzel, Rapunzel, Let Your Hair Down. And I played a gypsy woman who someone stole my gem or something. And I had like this very thick New Jersey accent, and like I was an old lady who had bronchitis. Like it was a very, very fun role. And it was so fun. And that's when I like truly knew that this is something I wanted to do. And then when I moved to Puerto Rico, the school that I went to, they took theater so seriously. And I was given so much encouragement when I said that this is something I want to do with my life. And just the department, there was so many technical elements that put on these like amazing shows, and it was so great to be a part of it. I mean, I performed on the same stage as Hamilton was performed on, and that was like a big thing for me when I was in high school. I was like
that's
freaking
crazy.
out.
Can you go a little bit more into the differences between how theater is approached in America versus Puerto Rico?
I can't say for sure because I only had like a few theater teachers there.
Yeah, well, from your limited experience, like not making a general
Well,
consensus.
what's cool about there is that it's such a small world. So our director was actually famous in Puerto Rico, and like a lot of the people that were in leadership positions within theater were really well known around the island, and that was really cool to work with them. Whereas when you're in, the United States, and it's like a bigger pond, and people are more far and few between.
Yeah, every fish, no matter if it is a big fish, will seem smaller in a bigger pond.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. So when you started acting at 7 years old, or because of you starting acting, I need to change the setup of that quick. Because of you starting acting at 7 years old, did you or do you have a different view on the craft kind of now than people who started later, would you say? Would you say that when you have conversations with people who started later in life, you kind of see a difference in their view of it?
I think so. I think because when I was a kid, I was drawn to, I was also so drawn to seeing theater when I was a kid, and I think it shaped me into who I am. I mean, even just like my charisma and my personality, I think is shaped by how much theater I was involved in. But I think people who started later have just as much of an appreciation, and maybe even more because like they entered it later.
Yeah, maybe I may have worded that a little bit wrong. I shouldn't say appreciation. I just don't know if view is different, whether certain aspects of the craft are viewed differently just because of your approach to it. I don't know how to say. So you also do voice acting. It's not just physical acting. With the voice acting experience, how has that affected your broadcasting a little bit?
Oh my gosh, I think my voice acting experience kind of brought me into broadcasting. I started voice acting after I started doing music because at that point I had already purchased all the equipment and I was like, wait, this is something I can do. And I took a voice class where I was asked to record an audiobook and then or a portion of an audiobook. From that, I was cast as the voice of the MSU 2022 Welcome Back video. And that was just like a very pivotal moment for me because I was like, maybe I can do this from the comfort of my own home even.
And what do you like about voice acting?
I think it's so cool to be, I'm thinking of voice acting in multiple different categories, and this includes like voice acting over animation, which is something I've never done but I want to do eventually. I think that's so cool, and people underestimate how much actual physical work people put into it. Like people are not just sitting down and doing it. They're standing, like if they're in a fight scene, like they are moving around. If you've ever seen a video of a voice actor performing a fight scene, it's so cool. But with like audio drama, like you're not in the situation. When you're in a show, you're in the set and you can like really imagine where you're at. And when you're voice acting, you kind of have to leave it up for the imagination, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, you probably don't know this, but when I was a little kid, my dream was voice acting.
Really?
There was a small phase where I thought voice acting would be the coolest. I still think it's really cool. It's still something I'd be very interested in. But
Yeah.
I said when I was younger, if I can grow up, if I can voice a freezer that is no longer plugged in, complains about the heat all the time, that'd be pretty good. Be in a Pixar movie.
I think so. That'd
Could
be
be pretty
awesome.
sweet. Oh, I gotta ask you about the voice acting. Have you ever seen, Chowder? Have you ever seen Chowder, that TV show?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the episode they do? They break the fourth wall. They have the voice actors do a car wash because they need more budget to animate it.
No, I haven't
Really
seen
funny.
that.
They start having the animation get worse and worse throughout the episode. And then they say, "Oh no, we ran out of budget."
No money means no animation.
And then it comes out just the voice actors all talking with each other. One of them's like 8 years old, and we've got to do something to save the budget and save the show. And it cuts to them doing a car wash on the street. It's amazing. It's
so
really
funny.
cool. Yeah, I personally, that show Chowder, amazing. Amazing World of Misadventures of Flapjack, also an amazing show. Crazy animation.
Is this what inspired you to potentially become a voice actor?
Yeah, possibly. This could be the
Possibly.
start. We could see in a few years, one day I'm voicing a freezer, you're voicing a fridge. We have extreme turf wars.
Oh,
Could be
that's
really
a good
cool.
idea. Trademark it.
Could be pretty good. You also served as an actor during the Young Playwrights Festival this summer at the
Yeah,
Morton Center. How was
yeah.
that experience?
That was so fun. Basically, we were given, I think, a week or maybe 2 weeks. I think only a week though, to memorize these scripts and put together these like short form plays. And I was in 2.5 of them. One of them I voiced for, but it was plays that were written by high school students in the area, very passionate about writing. And then they got to see their work put up on its feet. And doing it was so fun. Working with the people I was working with, given such a short timeline to put something together, was so fun. But I think the most rewarding part was seeing their reaction to their work being put on their feet. I mean, this girl, she came up to me and she's like, "You're everything that I expected from this character." And that was just like, it kind of reminded me why I like doing it. And yeah, that was a really, really fun experience.
Do you remember any of the characters that you played?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know the shows because they were written at that time, but one of them I had to kiss 3 people in. It was a 8-minute play. I don't understand how this girl managed to fit 3 kisses in there, but it was about a girl that kind of made her way in people's lives and changed the direction of it a little bit. And they didn't hate her in the end, but they didn't end on great terms.
Yeah, I can cut this part if you want. I just want to ask you, what is your personal opinion about that whole situation where a lot of couples, when one of them's acting, one of them has to deal with the fact the other one is going to be kissing and knowing it's not a romantic situation. What is your view of that situation?
I mean, this connects with me very closely because I am in a serious relationship and I do have to do stuff like that, and that's like something I had to say kind of from the beginning, like this is the career or this is something that I'm doing right now, and this might be something you have to do, and he's comfortable with that, obviously. But then they also, especially within our department and in the world right now, staged intimacy is becoming or intimacy direction is becoming a huge implementation in all theaters. So you don't just go in and do a kiss. Every single beat is choreographed perfectly. So we make sure everybody's boundaries are, we're respecting everybody's boundaries, and it's not uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, it's because it's being choreographed. It's like a dance number at that point.
Exactly.
It's just doing another thing. It's not separating it. And then I imagine that's going to make it a lot easier for some people when they realize this has been rehearsed so many times. It's emotionless. Then I can't imagine being a guy showing up on the show though. My 4-year-long girlfriend. If I didn't know prior that there aren't problems from it, walk it up and just be, she never told me there was a kiss scene. This is 5 minutes straight. This is so live.
There was one show that I was in it was my first show that had a kiss in it, and I had told my boyfriend in advance because I wanted him to be aware of it. And everybody else who was at the show was surprised when it happened because it came out of nowhere. He's like, I wish you didn't tell me. It wasn't a surprise to me. So I don't know. I think he would want me to tell him though.
No, for sure. It'd be terrible. Find out, you drive up, pick up your girlfriend in the car, just look at, you're a little bit happier today than usual. No,
definitely none of that.
Yeah, so what's the biggest moment that you've had to step out of your comfort zone so far in acting?
That's a good question. I don't know whether it's stepping out of my comfort zone or something I've always wanted to do, but it's difficult for me, which is improv. I'm taking an advanced improv class right now, and improv is such a cool medium, but it takes a lot of trust in yourself, and it takes a lot of intelligence. It takes a clear mind, and it scares me sometimes. I mean, every single day in class, we have to stand up in front of the class and just do something from our own brain. And with both broadcasting and acting, I'm reading scripts. So when I'm doing improv, it takes a lot of trust in me, and that is stretching out of my comfort zone, but it's good for me in the end, I know.
Yeah, you talked about the fact that you have to stand up in front of the class, get out of that comfort zone. I took an acting class earlier this semester, or last semester technically.
Yes.
A really fun experience. What was cool about it is a lot of college classes, you're just looking at a computer, you're typing away the entire class. You might go on Instagram, not even pay attention to what the teacher's saying. Acting classes, you're forced to participate. You're forced to be there in the moment, be present. I felt like I learned a lot from it. What have you learned throughout your acting career so far?
I've learned a lot. I mean, especially in college, I thought I was walking into college knowing everything that I did need to know, and that's a very silly mindset. But I learned so much in college, and that's gained from both the techniques that my professors have taught me, but also just the experience, because after all, that'll teach you the most. And I'm sure you can attest to that. Doing this every week you're getting better every single time.
Oh yeah, each one feels a little bit more comfortable. This one was a little bit weird at first, I'll tell the audience, because they didn't get the little explanation. Came back from Indiana just about 2 hours ago. Got off of a 5-hour car ride. Been a long 2 days. Next 3 days, almost 4 days possibly, we're going to be in a suit again. Women's basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball. I believe that's how it goes. I might have messed up.
How many suits do you own?
I've got 4 suits. That's the worst part.
Perfect.
Yeah, this suit's getting put in the dry cleaner. It's bad. I sweat through this suit last night at one point because it's gray.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
Oh my gosh. I had to learn that lesson the hard way, how sweat goes through blazers.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. There's this ad for hydrohidrosis that I used to see online. Almost no doubt have it, refusing to admit it. I also refuse to admit I'm lactose intolerant. I've ended up at the doctor's at least 20. Yeah.
You ended up at the doctor?
So many times.
Oh my gosh.
I've gone to them so many times. Every time they're like, maybe it's milk. It's not milk. I like ice cream.
Absolutely not.
No chance.
If I love it, it would love me too.
Yeah, exactly. Someone that might love you back, that you love, is singing now for the third and final one.
Round 3. Can you leave my sister alone? It's freaking her out. You're following her around everywhere.
You're telling me the boombox didn't work?
No.
Welcome back for segment 3. Now we're in the final one, the singing portion. Tessa, still doing good?
Yes, I'm doing great.
I just want to give the audience a little bit of a sneak peek here of just some of the research that I put in for these shows so they can understand this is not something I just walk right into. I'm going to bleep this for the audience. You're not finding out these personal information. But Tessa, just so you know, just so you can understand just how far I go into this research, your sister Julia.
What in the world? That is hilarious. Where did you find that?
That's what everyone at home will be wondering. Just need to get a little bit of the mics fixed, but now we are back. You in the audience, I hope that you appreciate the work that I put into this now. But Tessa, we're going to appreciate the work that you've put in so far.
Oh, exciting.
When did you first start your singing career? Let's start off with that.
I want to say I started singing when I was probably around the same time as acting, because Beauty and the Beast is a musical, so I was singing during then. And then as soon as I got a hold of my dad's like iPad and it had voice memo app on it, I would like write weird songs about weird metaphors. I don't know, like I loved to sing. I loved to sneak onto the computer when my parents were out and sing karaoke. And I think I started writing music summer of 2016 or something, music that I actually released.
Nice, and so far you've got 13 songs released with the band Game Under.
Yes.
You started that with your brother-in-law. Can you tell the audience how that began?
Yeah, so I started Game Under in 2020 during COVID, actually. That's when it became real. That's when the name became real too. We were spending some time in like our COVID pod during 2020, and my brother-in-law is such a talented guitar player, very, very talented musician. He went to Michigan State and was in like bands here. We would perform at bars and co-ops and everything. So he comes from a music background, I come from a music background, so we collaborated, and he would play some music and I would sing along, and we had some common themes because the first song that we came out with together, we wrote together, was about my niece who was born only a few months before that. So it was kind of about like her outlook on the world, and that was a really good collaboration. And then I brought some songs that I wrote prior, and he added some spice, some sparkle to it.
Yeah, collaborated on it together.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. It's rare that you get that amount of time to spend with somebody in your family, especially a brother-in-law.
Totally.
In-laws sometimes just get completely ignored by family. So
Exactly.
pretty great they're able to collaborate. I got to ask you, what's your favorite song that you've dropped so far? Out of the ones I listened to, my favorite is Lemon so far. Very good song.
Really?
Yes,
That
great
song I wrote myself. That was one of the ones that I wrote before Game Under even happened. And that was Keyboard 2, which was I think the first time like ever playing that. My favorite song, it's always changing, but either Never Forget You.
It's so hard to say goodbye, and it hurts, I can't deny watching you fade.
Which is more like sad, but I think it's beautiful, especially the harmonies. Or, oh, there's a few. Okay, so there's the song I Love You But.
I hurt when you're around. I love you.
It's about kind of the people that you love in your life, but they might not be good for you. And that's a hard thing to face, obviously. So I wrote a song about it. And there's like a bridge section that gets really angsty. Like at first it's like really sweet and soft. And then I have a bridge kind of inspired by Billie Eilish's song, Happier Than Ever, I think, where she just like kind of goes crazy in the bridge section. And then also there's a song that I wrote inspired by a near-death experience called Further From the Shore.
It was a little windy, but I got in the ocean anyway.
That also is pretty close to my heart.
Oh, I've got to ask you about it now. What was the near-death experience?
It was in the ocean, unfortunately. I got swept up by a riptide, and when like a riptide has you, I thought it was over. I thought for sure it was over.
You know, like in all the shows that I watched when I was a kid, quicksand was like the biggest worry of everything. They should have shown riptides, because riptides are 10 times scarier than that
They're
stuff.
so scary, and there's one thing you should know about them, which is you should always swim parallel to the shore. But your instinct, like your panic instinct, is to go towards the shore.
Yeah, who's ever going to start going, you know, I'm getting pulled out to sea. You know what I should do?
Go
the other way, just perpendicular. That would make more
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly. Yeah, so then like out of nowhere, this woman, like I think she was on vacation in Puerto Rico, she saw me and she just like books it, and she grabs me and she's like, "It's okay, sweetheart." I swear, she was like an angel. It was so amazing, and I still owe her my life, but I never got to properly thank her. So she's listening to this.
I guarantee she's listening to this right now.
Obviously, who isn't?
No, that gives you a new appreciation when things like that happen. The amount of times I've had, last year when I rode my bike around campus, almost every day was near-death experience. I was biking with headphones on one day. I stopped and like my bike jumped forward for a second, but then pulled back. Less than 1 second, bus right by me.
Oh my
Like an inch
gosh.
away. So like if
Yeah.
it fell, I didn't even see the bus. That was scary. I walked home that day. I was like, I gotta start like realizing what's around me more. I
Yeah.
gotta stop being in my own world.
It gives you like a whole new perspective on things. I feel that way when I'm driving and I'll be listening to music and then something will come out of nowhere and I'm like, I need to drive in silence. I need to take a moment of silence for that almost death. Like that was terrifying.
I was turning to my apartment earlier this year and this car kept coming as I was turning. I had the right of way. They did not. They kept coming. I get past just barely. I'm sitting there. They were coming up my driver's side, so I would have gotten smacked, like directly. I'm sitting there. I stop the car. I get out, put my hands over the top of the car. Just go, hands were shaking, like, oh, terrible.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Not a fun time. We're going to talk about something a little bit more fun here now. The singing lessons that you've done. Can you tell me how much those really help? Because I've always wondered how much vocal lessons really affected. Would you say that it really unlocked something new for you?
I think it definitely does. I think in high school I wish I appreciated them more. I went to an amazing singing coach who coached, she was an operatic singer in Puerto Rico. She was so good at what she did. And from that, I wasn't only forced to consistently sing, which is truly the secret. There's like different qualities of voice that I didn't really know about before then. There's like, I'm sure you've heard of belting. Sure you've heard of like head voice maybe, but then there's a mixed voice and that's like the secret. Like you need to achieve that. Like you need to work on it for you to get there, and I think singing lessons were super helpful in that regard. And in college I took a few singing lessons as well, and they force you to obviously consistently sing, but they teach you new vocal warm-ups, and those like increase your lung capacity and your ability. So
the biggest part I've wondered always about vocal lessons, is it just something where you're doing it repetitively so it becomes second nature, or is it more of something where you're more conscious when you're doing it so that you're not just doing it naturally? It's more of you're thinking about doing it.
that's a good question. I don't know if I ever made it to unconscious, but I know a lot of people who have got there. So I think you do need to remain conscious because some people are doing things that they don't know is unhealthy. And a lot of people see that in musicians, and those are the musicians who lose their voice and can't perform because they're doing things wrong. I think that's the most valuable part of vocal lessons, because you're learning what is healthy and what to avoid.
So it just teaches you preservation basically with the voice?
Exactly.
Wouldn't have guessed that, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
I
but
mean, like, people may sound, I think that is what like mixed voice is. You know what, I don't want to make any bold
yeah,
claims.
don't make it. You don't want the internet
But-
people being mean to us.
Not today.
Not today.
But like some people are screaming, and if you've screamed before, you lose your voice.
Yeah. While we're still talking about singing right now, what has been the biggest struggle of being the vocalist of your band?
Well, we're based in 2 different locations, and that's been a struggle. That's why we haven't really released anything lately. It's challenging to also be a full-time student. Being a double major especially is really, really hard, because like all my time I want to be spending towards my podcast or like acting. I'm doing like a monologue challenge right now where I post like a monologue every month of the year, which will hold me accountable to memorizing new stuff and just putting content out. But I want to be doing that stuff, and then when I have free time, at that point I just kind of need to relax, you know? So that's been a challenge, to time management and also organizing what works for both of our schedules when we're collaborating in 2 separate locations.
Yeah, he's got his own life too that he has to deal with, so you're both
Exactly.
collaborating with that. The Joe Dez fans know the amount of times that I have announced on this channel that I am coming back, and I'm back.
I'm
done
back.
it.
This time I'm here to stay.
Yeah, there's a video from a couple of months ago where I made a joke about it. It was a bit of a fourth wall thing where I was talking, and I get my shirt back, get the Joe Dez Hour tank top that I first made the show in, get it back from this guy called The Barber. He's my friend Oliver back home. He was in the 2nd ever episode of the show. Gives it back to me, puts it on my lap, and I say, "Oh, how I've missed you. I cannot wait to drop another video saying that I'm coming back, just to not release a video for another month." Yes. I've missed you. All right, it's official. I can drop a video saying I'm coming back for the 50th time, just to disappear for another month.
So
a
you're
lot
aware
of
of
fun.
it.
I understand. I'm conscious of it.
It's challenging.
It's
I mean,
tough.
We're given so many assignments in school, and like, when do you find time to do extracurriculars?
Like I said, and then you need that time to relax. You're just gonna go insane. Every
Right.
time that I have put the hardest amount of work in that I could, I need almost 2 to 3 weeks of being burnt out and just thinking I'm never doing it again.
Yeah.
It's It's rough.
And with acting and singing and even this, you can't burn out. Like, you need to be on, and you need to, like, you are the instrument, and you need to constantly hone those skills and give yourself the proper rest and time that you need.
No, exactly. Well, with these type of things, with entertainment, with singing, everything in the field, you need to be happy when you're doing it pretty much. Unless it's something where you're reading poetry that's supposed to be
So
sad.
you need to have energy.
Yeah, but you need to have energy at some
Yes.
point. You need something driving you, something burning inside you. And I'm going to move on to the next question because we could talk about this for hours if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
But who were some of the singers that kind of influenced your style? Because when I was listening to yours, I don't know if you'll agree with this. You brought up Billie Eilish a little bit earlier. Her and Olivia Rodrigo, I saw some of their song styles kind of mixed in. Both them use different instruments that aren't commonly found in pop songs. You've done that as well.
Yeah.
So who would you say?
Well, you're saying some great people. I think that I was always inspired by female musicians, but I discovered Billie Eilish pretty early on in her career, and she has a very similar age to me, and I just thought it was like really awesome to see like an independent woman like that coming out with her own music and her voice. She is what inspired me to start releasing my own stuff, and I just respect so many artists. Like Miley Cyrus has been a huge one for me, especially lately, but even when I was a kid with Hannah Montana, I think at a period of time, a lot of girls just like me were like, I'm going to be Hannah Montana one day. That is the plan.
Already starting to get there. You got the acting, you've got the singing. Just need a show now. Need a wig. Need somehow get that blonde wig.
Exactly.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a challenge here. I'm going to give you two of my favorite woman singers. I want you to tell me the two songs that correlate with each, one for each of them. They each have one song that's really popular each. They've got other songs, but there's two that you should know. Do you know Gloria Gaynor?
Yes. Yes.
Do you know the song?
Yes. Did she sing? Oh, took all my strength not to fall apart. What is that called?
You got it.
I'm so close. I'm really
Do you
bad
want
at
the
this game.
first letter?
Yes.
It's I.
I
3 words.
I will survive.
Yes.
There we go.
There we go.
What in the
There
world?
we go,
I'm
Tessa.
so bad at these pressure games.
No, that's good.
Awful.
That was good. Last one, Colby Colott.
Don't-
Any chance? Have you ever heard the song Bubbly? Starts in my toes and I crinkle my nose.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yes, that's Colby Colott.
Yes,
Amazing.
yes.
Great singer.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, both those singers are ones that I listen to whenever I'm sad, to be honest.
Aw, those are good songs. I Will Survive was a huge one for me in high school.
No, I Will Survive. A friend that I had years ago when I was very young, he showed me that song. You ever seen the game CSGO?
No.
Ah, dang. Well, it's a game online. Everyone goes into voice chat and stuff. It's on computers mostly. Meet like a wide range of people on there. Me and one of my friends used to go on there all the time. Every time the game started to get low, like we started losing, he would throw that song on immediately. We'd come back, and it was the coolest experience.
Exactly. That'll get spirits high again.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Do you have any songs like that were trying to bring you back to a certain memory where you're happy?
Oh, wow. Oh no. I don't know. The only song I can think of right now is I Will Survive. Can I come back to that one?
Yeah, no worries. We can keep going.
I'm completely blank. There's nothing in
No,
here.
it's okay. That's always what happens once the cameras start going, the lights are on. I
We
know.
can talk about this later.
Can you talk about some of the recognition that you've got for everything that you've done so far?
Yes.
With your podcast, with your singing, with your acting, there have been awards mixed in all throughout there. If I listed all of them, it would take me a little bit of time. I would stumble over one or two, so I'm not going to do that right now. But can you just talk about what that recognition has meant to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that every show that I've gotten cast in, I consider that a recognition, especially like when I'm being kind of recruited a little bit, like the Williamston Theater in Williamston. That's the closest professional theater we have in this area. I've made myself known over there, and they've invited me to do some read-throughs there, and that just feels like such an honor. But since joining broadcasting, that I feel so recognized for the hard work that I put into it. I got an award for second place for the category Best Podcast in like nationwide in the College Media Association, and that was for the audio drama we talked about, Mortem Corp. That was a huge honor. I mean, especially because that work was such a labor of love. I didn't anticipate that getting an award. It was more just, I want to do this thing and I want to get people involved. Of course, I wanted people to hear, but I didn't think it would go that far. So that was like, I was really proud of myself, and it encourages me because I intend on bringing that show back. And then I also recently, we don't know yet, cross fingers, but I am a finalist twice in the same category from the Michigan Association of Broadcasters, personality or team. Like radio personality or team. And one of them is for my podcast Exposure with Impact 89 FM, where I interview student clubs and organizations every week. And that was my first episode of that, which I sound designed a little bit. It was with the student organization, the State of Fifths. It's an a cappella group. So I went to their rehearsal. I got some great audio of them singing, and I interweaved that within the interview. And I guess that showed through. So I was really proud of myself on that.
And just so the audience can understand just how this is, for that category, there are 3 finalists. Tessa's 2 of them.
Yes!
So that's just amazing to see.
So I'm either going to win or second place.
No matter what, there's going to be 2 spots that you've claimed. It'd be pretty cool if it was 1 and 3, so it's kind of like a sandwich. That
It
person's.
would be really cool if you were 1 and 2.
Hello, room service? I'd like a bottle of your second most expensive champagne.
And I'd like your most expensive bottle.
Wow, walked right into that one.
1 and 2 would be cool, I know. Had to set you up for that.
Regardless, it's such an honor to be even considered.
Yeah,
period.
to be considered. The fact that you're nationally recognized for Mortem Corp, can you talk about that a little bit more? Just what the experience was when it's not just a Michigan Association of Broadcasters. That one is amazing, but that's just for Michigan.
Yeah.
When it's the entire 50 United States, can you open it up?
Yeah. So because of that, I was invited to go to the conference in Atlanta, and I mean that was just an unreal experience to be invited to Atlanta in the first place, but to have like a trip organized for me where I got to meet such successful journalists and storytellers. I even got to meet an actor who did a panel on getting your foot in the door. That was it was an educational experience. And then I got to accept my award. And at that same conference, we also accepted some really great awards for the station overall. It was a prideful moment for me. I was so happy to be surrounded by people who support me, and then also people who are interested in the same thing as me, because like having friends who encourage you and are willing to collaborate with you and give you honest feedback is such a privilege.
We talked a little bit about the people who support you. Can you talk about the people who taught you a little bit and mentored you?
Yeah, with these skills or in life or all
Just-
the above.
It could be these skills. It could be everything. If there's someone who taught you how to cook a bagel really good, you could shout them out right now. Just anything right now.
Shout out mom. No, I have 4 older sisters, which is amazing. Like they taught me a lot of what I need to know. I mean, a lot of what I should know. Some things I shouldn't have known so early on in my life. Older sisters.
Yeah, you one up me there. I have 3 older sisters.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, close, but I did.
Very
one with
close, yeah.
you. But one of my sisters is actually taking a similar career path as me within audio and like documentary style podcasting and news kind of thing. So she's in a grad school program right now for that, and she is a huge help to me. We are always talking about work. She's so supportive of it, and her girlfriend is actually a sound designer. So she is who helps me a lot too. And then I have a mentor within the Department of Theater. His name is Lucas Nunn, and he's just the reason that Mortem Corp even came into fruition. He was just, any question I had, he would coach me through it, and just having like that resource was so awesome.
Yeah, you have so many people supporting you. It's just the only way that you can really keep moving forward. You do so many things that a lot of people would be really scared to try out with acting, singing. They're all careers that people have to put themselves out of their comfort zone to try. Was that inspired a little bit through support of parents, through support of siblings, or how did you being okay with stepping out of that comfort zone start?
It's a good question. I want to say yes. I mean, I am the person I am today because of the support that I have around me, but I think it's also a younger sibling thing, like the desire to get your voice out there, and I want to tell stories. Like that is my passion, and you can see that within all of my interests. I love performing in plays because I like getting stories out to the world. I love telling news because I want to help people understand the world around them, and then in my music, I'm able to share my experience in a more poetic way. So I think the through line of all that is storytelling. I think I like putting myself out of my comfort zone. I think it makes me a better person. I get excited by that kind of stuff, and I don't know. Some people are just built different.
I can agree with you about the younger sibling thing. I'm the youngest of 6 siblings, so by the time it had gotten to me, sometimes you want a little bit of that extra attention from it. That's never bad, to be quite honest. A little bit of attention, and also...
I didn't want to admit to the attention thing, but you're right.
The attention's pretty great, yeah, you enjoy it. But also, you get to show your creativity. You've seen people live their lives. You get to learn from their mistakes, learn what they did right, and decide, they were too scared to do this. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll see what happens. I saw what happened if they don't do it. Why don't I see what happens if they do?
Totally. There was this game we played in improv one day where one person got in the middle. It was kind of like Never Have I Ever, but the person in the middle actually had done it. What is it? I know a person who. And she said, I know a person who's the youngest sibling. And I want to say 90% of my class stood up. And I'm like, like, I wonder if this is something.
Makes a bit more sense, yeah. I actually never made that connection. I'm wondering now how many people who are in these types of fields are younger siblings.
I can imagine there's an experiment on that somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder what the numbers are in middle children, too, for that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like middle
What
might be the
career path?
least is what's crazy.
Yeah, I would
That would be my guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Any middle sibling out there, do not worry. We still love you.
We
They're
respect
amazing.
you.
We respect
it's
you
even
heavily.
cooler that you're a middle sibling.
But no, so Tessa, before we let you go, do you have any shout-outs that you'd like to give to anything coming up for you, anyone who in the past who has helped you? Right now, the floor is yours for the next however amount of time you'd like.
Ooh, that's a lot of pressure. Well, I'm continuing my podcast at Impact with Exposure, where I am interviewing student clubs and organizations. So I'm sure some people are not from Michigan State, but if you would like to get your club featured on the show, that would be awesome. We would have great conversations. And then also Impact is starting a new podcast called Behind the Mics, where I'm going to be interviewing the people who founded Impact 89 FM and started it in the 80s and 90s. So that's will be coming up soon. Let's see what else. And also Mortem Corp. I imagine there'll be a second season in the near future.
I hope so. I checked out some Mortem Corp. It's really interesting. The way that the sound melds with the voices and that actually makes a scene that you can imagine is really cool. I thought it was very impressive.
That was the purpose. I think it's so cool to be, like, it's so cool when you're able to close your eyes and visualize what you're in, and that was my goal. But if you're interested in voice acting, I need a few.
Yeah, I will help you out anytime, Tessa. And if you want to check out any more from Impact, I am there as well. I help out Tessa. I don't do the exact same stuff. Some interlap, though. Tessa, the final thing I'd like you to do before I let you go, picture will be right here for the audience, and you tell me who is in this picture right here.
Is this my mother?
This is your mom. That was during the Hurricane Irma event that we talked about at the beginning of the show. Tessa, thank you so much for coming on. I hope that you all enjoyed episode 34 of the Joe Dez Hour here in the newsroom. Thank you to everyone at Michigan State who made this possible, at letting us use the space. Tessa, thank you for making it possible. My producer today, Bryan Rector, B-Rec. Check out his podcast, The Confluence World. It will be linked in the description. Thank you all for checking this out. I hope that you all have a great day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, check out the TikTok, subscribe as well down below.
Thank you.